Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of rawradianthealth.com, and I'm Natasha St. Michael. Thank you so much for joining me. So it's Friday, it's the end of the week, and today I want to talk about what to do when you feel sad. This past week, it's been a very intense week. You know, there's been so much devastation with the tsunami, the earthquake in Japan, as well as the radiation and all of that. I mean, it's just terrible, and so many people are dead, so many people are ill, so many people are homeless, all of it. It's, you know, it's everywhere you look. That's all you see, and that's all you're thinking about, and it's sad, and it's terribly sad. And so today I kind of want to talk about, you know, what to do with that sadness. I know for myself this week, not only with that, but my grandfather passed away last weekend, and he was 103 years old, which is phenomenal, and he was in fabulous health. But he died, and I was very close with him, very, very close with him. I lived with him for a few years, and you know, he's my buddy. So that was rough too as well, and I think both together it was a sad week for me, and so it made me think a lot about sadness and what to do with it. And I think the first thing that I'd like to say is to express that sadness, that it's alright to be sad. I think a lot of times we like to be strong, and we like to not show our so-called weaknesses, right? We're told showing sadness, or we learned somewhere along the line that showing sadness is a sign of weakness. But at times when you feel sad, I think the worst thing you can do is to keep it in. And so the first thing to do is to express it, to show it, to be with it. You know, and sometimes for some people it's like they need to maybe take some time to be with it and process it alone. And that's all right. You know, you don't need to be surrounded by people if you're not comfortable. But it's important really to express it in a way that you feel is most natural, and in a way that you really feel like you can release it. Because the beauty about sadness is that when you cry, or when you write things out, or when you talk it out, you start releasing it. It's like this energy inside of you that you feel it's weighing you down, or it's sort of, you know, putting sort of a screen over everything you see. It makes everything kind of gray. But the moment that you start actually expressing it and feeling it and letting it out and just being with it, you actually do sort of let it out, and you find afterwards that it feels good to let it out, and that you don't need to be carrying so much weight. And so that's why I really say, you know, express it, let it out, and do it in a way that you're most comfortable with, so you can really do it. And it's not something that, like, you know, you just let it out and it's gone, but the more that you do let it out, the more that you can let go of parts of it, and eventually it's not going to be overcoming you or overwhelming you. So that's the first thing, is to express it and to feel it and to accept it. Don't fight it. Don't fight it at all. It's perfectly natural, it's perfectly normal, and it's part of life. I mean, suffering is part of life. But it's what we do with it. That's what matters. It's in how we use it. And it's a right to be feeling those feelings. We need, you know, it creates a balance. And so, but the second thing is that I do want to stress the importance of not being alone. It's one thing a friend of mine had once said to me, because no matter what you do, don't suffer alone. Never, ever suffer alone. And that's something that I really hold dear to my heart, because I'm one of these people that keeps a lot of things in, and I have a very hard time reaching out to people, and I have an even harder time asking for help, unless it's an emergency. And even if it's an emergency, I have a really hard time sort of picking up the phone and calling someone and saying, I need help, or I'm sad, can we talk about this? So when this friend of mine had said that to me, that to never suffer alone, I really kept that to heart, and that's something that I remind myself all the time, that there's times when I do feel sad, And my first response to it is to go and hide myself away and be with my sadness alone. I hear his voice saying, "Don't suffer alone," and I then push myself a little bit, give myself a nice little nudge, and pick up the phone or send an email to someone and reach out and just say, "I'm going through this and I need some support right now," or "I need someone to talk to right now." Just, you don't need to talk to the whole world. It could just be one person, a family member or a friend or a sibling, anyone, anyone that has an ear. And it makes all the difference in the world, because again, it's the moment you start actually physically talking about something, you're letting it out, and you're no longer carrying that sadness on your own, that you have someone to share that with. And I also find too is that a lot of times, I know for myself, a lot of times I rationalize sort of my, that I have a hard time telling people or asking for help, is that I rationalize it saying, "Oh, I don't want to put a burden on someone else. Oh, that's too much to put on someone." But if the tables were turned and it was my friend or my family member that was suffering, I would more than anything want to be there to help them. And it would make me feel really good to be able to do that. So that's something to always remind yourself as well, is that you're giving someone the opportunity to feel good. When you call someone up and say, "I need some support, I need your help," that person on the other end of the line feels so good that someone is asking them for help. And anyone feels good helping another person. Anyone feels good being there for their loved ones. And so you're actually doing a good thing when you allow someone in your life and open up and share these things and ask them to help you along. So that's something, you're never burdening anyone, never ever, and in fact, I believe you're almost giving someone the opportunity to create some good fortune in their life, because I do believe in cause and effect, and the more we can support people and help people and do what we can for other people, the more goodness that comes into our life, and the more fulfilled we are with our lives. So it's a good thing. And another thing that I want to talk about is not keeping it in, because the one thing about sadness that's very different from, let's say, anger. Like if you look at anger, we're venting it out. We're angry with something outside ourselves, and so it's always directed outwards. Even though we feel the anger and we keep that anger in, it does get released, and it is always pointed outwards. Whereas with sadness, it's something that's very inwards. It's something that you feel inside, and it's something that you carry in you, and it's directed inward. And so if you don't let it out and if you don't express it, over time it can make you more and more depressed, and it can make you feel depressed and hopeless, and it can sometimes accumulate and snowball. So it's really important when we first feel sad to do something with it. And it doesn't mean that you have to get rid of it, but it means do something with it. Don't hold it in, but let it out. Find ways of expressing it. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to tell someone about it. It doesn't mean that you have to sit and cry about it, but find ways of expressing yourself. And that might be in creative ways like writing or singing or listening to music that can, sometimes music can sort of press that button to allow you to cry or allow you to feel that emotional buildup, that can allow it to sort of flow out. So listen to music, write about it. You can find other ways that you can express it. It could be in a creative way of painting or drawing. It's a lot of times creativity really helps to sort of open up those channels and allow things to flow. And a lot of times too, it can actually help us to resolve what it is that is making us sad. So that's something too to think about. How can I bring in more creativity in my life? Because it does help to balance a lot of these emotions out. And I guess the last thing I want to say about sadness is also to take action with that sadness. When we feel sad about something, it could be because of what's going on in the world, or it could be something's going on in our family, someone died, or a relationship is over, we're getting divorced, or someone has done something that made us feel bad, or we did something to someone that made us feel bad. There's many different causes of suffering, and I always believe suffering is suffering. It really doesn't even matter what it is that made us suffer or made us feel sad. In that moment we're suffering, and we all suffer the same way. And one thing that I've learned is to do something with that suffering, and that means sending out prayers or sending out good thoughts to those people involved. So if you feel sad about what's going on in Japan, send them good energy, send them your love. It's a lot of times we physically cannot do things and we physically cannot change things, but that doesn't mean that we can't open up our heart and just send sort of like a loving, healing energy to someone, because that does do something, and it feels good to do it, and at the same time you are doing something, rather than feeling hopeless and helpless. And it's the same thing as, like, let's say you're in a situation where you have an argument with someone, or someone did something that made you feel bad, or you did something that made someone else feel bad. Same thing, send them the love, send them good energy, send them prayers, whatever you feel like is most natural to you. But it's really important to sort of look beyond it, focus your attention of moving forward with it, and see things as a way that can be resolved. Because if you sort of focus your energy that way, it will be resolved eventually and naturally. All right, so those are my little tips about sadness, and it's all right to be sad, and it will, use it to empower you. Use it to move forward. Whatever you do, don't retreat. Move always forward. All right? And I do want to remind everyone that we do have next 7-day raw food challenge, which starts on Monday. If you're interested, it's perfect time. It's springtime, right? So the fresh produce is starting to get better, and the weather is going to be getting better. And springtime, we all know, it's the time when things are starting to grow again, everything's sprouting, the greens are coming out, and it's the time to do a cleanse. This is the most cleansing time of the year, so take advantage. It's March, perfect time. And also for those that want to try out raw foods and do like a gentle cleanse, because that's what it is for 7 days, do join us. Go to my website at www.rawradianthealth.com, click on 7-day raw food challenge, and all the information about it is there. Have a fabulous weekend, everyone, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye.